It's called a kitchen garden, but contrary to popular belief, does not require you to fill the kitchen with plants nor build an oven among the geraniums. David Kirkpatrick has joined the woman at the forefront of the kitchen garden revolution, Stephanie Alexander, in hers. Good morning.
Good morning to you both.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
It's almost like, it's almost not like a kitchen garden, because we're actually standing in Stephanie's front garden, which is the avenue to the house. So you've created something that looks beautiful and you can eat.
That's right, and it has the best sun. And as we know, vegetables have to have sun.
Lots of sun, and this is what you'd call a kind of a garden that you pull from continuously. So it's not just harvest and clear.
That was my next question.
Away.
I was going to ask, what do you do when that happens? When you start pulling out all of the broccoli because they're ready? What do you do with the dead space?
Let me turn you over to the master. So what are we doing here?
So what we do is we cut out the central head, making sure we cut it on an angle so that the centre doesn't rot, and then we wait for all the little side shoots, which are absolutely delicious and the most tender part of the broccoli.
Look at that, it's so soft and beautiful, and these are the babies.
Absolutely beautiful, and this cooked for about a minute and a half with melted butter or olive oil, or just as is, really, is just, it's a gourmet treat.
And the taste is, you don't taste broccoli like this in the supermarket.
Absolutely
It just doesn't exist. So shall we move along the aisle?
Move along the aisle.
We'll move along the shopping aisle, and in aisle 3 we have the celery.
Now the celery I'm particularly proud of, because that has been planted very, very close together deliberately, and it means that every head of celery has grown really tightly against the next one, and it's self-blanching.
Beautiful. So it keeps it nice light colour, and you don't have to try squeezing on the milk containers, which then fill with snails and slugs and all sorts of unattractive things.
Exactly, and it looks attractive. And I had some of that celery in my salad last night, and it was quite delicious.
Did you grow this from seed, or did you grow it from punnet?
This one I grew from seed.
Good. An heirloom seed?
An heirloom seed.
Because I noticed that you've actually got an heirloom tool in the garden as well.
So I wondered where that was.
Stephanie, it's interesting. Stephanie, it's interesting that you have your vegetable garden, as David said, leading up to the front door at the entrance of your place. I always thought that a vegetable garden takes a lot of maintenance. Does that mean that therefore it doesn't look always beautiful?
No, I don't find that it does need a lot of maintenance. I certainly, you need to water it, and I've got tanks, so I can do that quite legally and generously at the moment.
And you've got buckets of poo on the garden?
Buckets of poo on the garden, mostly sheep poo. And I feed the soil with the compost that I make in the compost heap. And really, all the maintenance that it requires is to pick it. Because there's no weeds, absolutely none.
And you've got things widely spaced so that you can get plenty of air through things, and if you do notice a slug or a snail, you get it like that.
I am ruthless with them. They do have some beer traps here, and it seems to me they like drinking the beer. But
cooking in France, do you ever collect the snails and then put them inside and have a little...
I used to do that at Stephanie's restaurant. We used to collect snails and eat them.
Yum.
And I used to pay the local children to deliver snails to the door, which I think rather an extravagant rate.
So, Stephanie, do you find that you are self-sufficient when it comes to vegetables?
I am just about self-sufficient. I don't grow potatoes because I haven't got the room. And I'm trying to think of anything else that I don't grow. No, I think I have absolutely everything that I need.
How do you overcome, you know, when you go along to the nursery and you think, oh, I want tomatoes, and you buy 6 punnets of tomatoes and you put them all in. How do you ensure that you don't end up with gluts of this and none of that?
I think that's experience, and I do end up with the odd glut. I mean, nobody's going to eat that amount of celery, but I do give some to my friends, and they like that.
So a little bit of trade here and there.
A little bit of trade, and it's a good way to make new friends. Sometimes people hang over the fence and say, that looks interesting.
And you've got little surprises like, obviously, the
eggshell.
The eggshells.
Yeah, the eggshell is supposed to discourage the snail again. They don't like the cracked edge to crawl over. But look, really, I'm prepared to say the snails can have a bit. There's plenty for them and for me.
Well, I think that's a great thing. I'll just put down a little basket of produce. If you look at the silver beet there and you go, well, so what if there's a couple of holes in it?
You don't eat the holes.
What does it matter? And then if you can...
Stephanie, I'd love to know, looking at that selection, I'd love to know what you actually plant.
What do we plant? Well, we've got chives here.
Leeks here.
Leeks
here.
Like I know, yes.
Radicchio, silver beet, Tuscan kale, this extraordinarily handsome plant.
Beautiful.
Which goes on looking like something out of, I don't know, a feather in somebody's hat from a couple of hundred
prehistoric,
years ago.
isn't
But you could really plant in it, because what's really fantastic is all the texture. So what we might do is we'll grab all this stuff, the basket of things, we'll head round the back and we'll cook it up.
Let's do that and make a beautiful salad.
Beautiful. Let's go.
Lovely. We look forward to it. Thank you so much.
See ya.
All right, we'll see you in a
shortly.
while.
All right, home shopping time now with Marianne. We're heading back to Stephanie Alexander's garden now to share one of her food favourites, carefully nurtured by Kirky, of course. Good morning again to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Stephanie, you're going to show us how to make what would be, for me, just an ordinary salad into something exotic, wild, different, unusual.
Pretty quick,
Right.
quick. Little bit of salt.
And that's rock salt? as
That's
opposed
just
to
sea salt.
Sea salt,
Little
yep.
bit of lemon juice. Could
Beautiful.
have been vinegar.
The gift from the gods.
Yep. A bit of really gorgeous extra virgin olive oil.
Can you do a love heart with that when you?
No, I can't do that.
My cappuccino
No,
maker does one.
none of that. And then a bit of pepper.
Yeah.
Stir. Sometimes I put my finger in that
Yeah.
to see if the salt's right.
Good.
but
I put my finger in
sometimes-
the garden soap. And
Okay,
I won't do
so
that.
now if I'm doing it ahead of time,
Yep.
I'd leave the service like that. But as we're going to
Is that
toss
something
it,
kind of to do with the Masons, or
that's to keep it out of the dressing.
right?
Okay, now we've got salad, and then we
Yep.
put all the things in that make it
Oh.
really special.
I
Now,
get it,
hang
to
on,
keep it out of the
just
dressing
slow down.
so that it doesn't go mushy.
You showed me that you dried the salad. You picked it last night, and I said to you, "Why did you pick it last night?"
And I wanted it to be dry and crisp this morning.
Because, and then you said about pulling the oils into the leaf and all that.
Well, that's right. If you've got wet leaves, the dressing is just going to roll off. As we know, oil and water
Yeah,
does
yeah.
not mix.
Great.
Do not mix. So in this case, we've got lovely dry leaves, so they will be beautifully shiny and they will take up the dressing and won't be wet. And you won't get that horrible puddle that you sometimes get in the bottom of a badly mixed salad.
Perfect. Because I did your chickpea salad, and you said, leave it for a couple of days, and I thought, what does she know about cooking, this woman? Leave it for a couple of days? And I left it for a couple of days, and it was just magnificent.
Yes,
so
I think-
I trust the Bible. And this, I've read the Bible. It's just amazing. I fell
It's
in
an
love with
amazing
my
book,
wife. Oh, it's just beautiful because it goes into things not just about like cooking recipes and so on, but it gets children excited about food, it teaches you about food. There's amazing photography. Isn't the photography beautiful?
photography's beautiful.
I
I'm
could
very,
just
very
gaze
happy
at the
with
pictures
that.
for ages.
What about worms, Kirky? Does it talk about worms? Because I don't think I've quite mastered my worm
Yes,
farm
and
at
it
home.
actually gives you how to make your own worm farm. Yeah.
I got so excited the other day. I told you I saw a ladybird in the garden.
And then, of course, the ladybirds are wonderful because they munch on aphids. Now, this is a golden beetroot, which I grow, and they're pretty unusual. A lot of people have not seen
Now
golden
you're
beetroot.
growing these in some of your raised beds here.
Now, look, it just so happens
It just so happens, the wonders of television, here it is.
I can show you.
Wow.
Did you hear it scream?
A bit of dirt on it, but
Yeah.
you can see the amazing colour of this beetroot when you peel it.
What's the difference, Stephanie? Does it taste different?
Well, it doesn't bleed like a purple beetroot when you cook it, so it doesn't go all over the kitchen. You know how everything turns
Yes.
purple?
Right. And is it any larger or
But
smaller than the normal one?
it tastes remarkably similar.
And you can use the leaves in the salad too?
You can. The leaves are delicious.
Now, what else are we going to put in there?
We've got some croutons in there. We
Yeah.
have some crisp bacon. I just
Can I
wipe
throw a few marigold flowers?
few marigold petals. Let's pull it apart.
Can I do that? It'll remind me of when I was a hippie.
That's it.
Okay. She loves me. She loves me not.
And of course, we could, my favourite, we could shave a bit of parmesan over the top,
Great.
which you'll notice I like to do with a potato peeler because you get nice thin bits.
Great.
But you can use an ordinary grater. But I quite like doing it that
Now,
way.
is that because it's more touchy-feely, or it just...
Well, it's quite nice to get, I think, a lump of parmesan, a significant bit rather than a fragment
Yeah.
that gets mixed in with the salad. We could also put a nasturtium flower in if we're being really
Let's
way out.
swing way out there. Now,
Beautiful
the
colours.
nasturtiums are pretty strong in flavour, so you
They
wouldn't
are
add
indeed,
too much.
and I always think you should look to make sure there's not an earwig nestling in the
I've
middle.
done that. I've actually done unwashed things, and I've been cutting it up, and half an earwig walks across
That's
the
not
bench.
good. That's
No.
not a good look.
And then I can't find the other half. But I think of the protein I'm getting.
That's exactly right.
Do
The children in the school love this sort of playing with
Yeah.
flowers. That gives them an extra sort of thrill when they're
So
cooking.
when you're setting up the kitchen gardens in schools, you not only go through the whole process of this is how you do the garden, you set it up, but how do you make the bridge for children between the food and the cooking so that they kind of naturally fall into that?
Well, they just love it. I mean, obviously the eating is the most important part for the kids, I suppose, ultimately. But so every school has to have a space in which they can cook, as well as a beautiful garden, and the kids just move from the garden to the kitchen, then sit at a table and eat what they've made. And what we find is overwhelmingly within a few weeks, any kid will eat anything that they've had something to do with either growing or preparing in the kitchen. And there's a lot of peer pressure happens around the table from their friends.
Stephanie, how widespread is the kitchen gardens program in schools?
There's 93 projects currently around Australia, and by the end of 2012 we expect to have 250 schools involved, and that will be affecting 30,000 Australian children every week.
And
so,
we can find all of that.
Yeah.
It'll be on the website, together with all the information about the book and all the stuff that I've put on there. So get on the website, find out about Stephanie's program, everything, it's all there. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you,
Stephanie.
Thank you so much. And of course, Stephanie's salad vinaigrette recipe did look nice, didn't it? Yes, that'll be on the website for you. Marianne's here in a minute.
And still to come this morning, the need to be universally liked.